Uh-oh, I couldn't start the video before I got I couldn't start the video before I got everything situated. What is going on, everyone? I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm Marcus, and I appreciate y'all tuning in for another live stream where we're going to talk about a little bit of what's going on with Tiffany Henyard and her capacity as mayor and her capacity as the supervisor of the Thornton Township. Last week, your boy was kind of MIA, so I had a lot of pre-recorded content. So I really didn't get a chance to dive in and give my take on some of the things that were going on with Tiffany Henyard. So we're going to cover a few of those things, a few of those stories. We're going to talk about something that occurred last week. We're going to talk about a strategy that the trustees are doing that's actually smart. So I got to give them credit for. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Tiffany Henyard's election campaign. I did another video. It was a short, and I rarely put out shorts on this channel. But it was a short regarding another politician who is facing federal charges, who won re-election. And we're going to kind of look at those two situations and talk about what's the likelihood of Tiffany Henyard winning in light of only thing we know now is a federal investigation and a lot of drama and BS that's going on. As always, if you get some value out of this content, I invite you to like, share, subscribe, interact with the channel. And if you really want to support, become an official co-counsel by hitting the join button where you get early access to videos and a members only live stream. And we're going to knock out our first members only live stream. I think I'm going to do it next week. It's going to be interesting because it's going to be a little Q&A session. We're going to cover some topics that I probably wouldn't talk about typically on the channel. So it's going to be interesting and dope. And also, hey, got to throw the disclaimer out for the folks at the Bar Association. I'm a licensed attorney, but I'm not your attorney. So this isn't legal or financial advice. This is just me giving my opinion and takes on topics and current events for infotainment purposes. Always seek a professional in your local area. All right, so let's go ahead. And I was late. I apologize. I was late because I got a house full of children, son back from college, then it's other people's kids who are my adopted kids to staying over. So I apologize. I was a little bit late. I tried to start on time, but this is probably the latest. I was like, man, it's like almost 10 minutes later. So I apologize for being on CP time, folks. All right, let's go ahead, jump into our first story. Y'all gonna know this one. This news story is 10 minutes long, and we not going through this 10 minutes. But this one is going to be interesting because we're going to have a little bit of legal analysis done on what crimes were broken just from observing this video. I think this would be a good take. So this very first video is going to be a video that you all are probably familiar with a news report on Dalton's top cop and Tiffany Henyard actually calling him to the scene to remove some signage that's down. That people were removing signs. People were removing signs that were down that had the super mayor's image on it. She showed up and was extremely upset. The top cop in Dalton, who probably isn't qualified to be a cop, so I don't think he's actually a cop per se because he doesn't have the qualifications to be a law enforcement officer, showed up. We're going to watch this video, not all 10 minutes, because I just don't want to watch 10 minutes of all of this. They were speaking in Spanish and, si habla español, yeah, muy bien. Not very good, but yeah, so-so. So we're going to watch this video, and then I'm going to turn to some of my notes because I want y'all to see how many felonies were committed in this video. Everybody's talking about the video and what was going on, but I actually pulled up the statute. Like I said, hey, I got a 9-to-5 job, but I try to prepare for y'all to the best of my ability. But we're going to look at some definitions in the Illinois statute related to certain felonies that were violated in this video. So let's go ahead and cue it up, and we're going to talk about it. Let's dive in.
Now, an NBC5 News exclusive, there is more controversy for the mayor of Dalton tonight. Apparently, when she caught workers removing banners with her picture on them, she called police. But the company that created those banners told our Regina Waldrop they just want the $19,000 they say they're owed.
They were shiny new additions to Sibley Boulevard. Welcome banners with Dalton Mayor.
All right, so real quick, Contractor wanting their money is indicative of broke assness, which is consistent with what's been going on in the village and the Thornton Township, just both municipalities collectively.
Tiffany Henyard's picture, her self-titled super mayor underneath. But a few weeks ago, this happened.
Yeah, they basically taking down my sign. Yeah,
Workers with Liberty flag and banner were removing Henyard's.
All right, real quick, let's back up. This is who I want y'all to pay attention to. All right, and let me see.
Yeah,
Workers with.
All right, Ronald Byrd Sr. I want y'all to pay attention to him because his body language actually tells everything. And I know this video is about a week late, but when I saw it, I said, this is interesting. Okay. His body language and posture is not indicative of someone who is confident that they have the right to be there in the capacity that they're representing. I've never in my life, okay? I've been in many situations as a civilian, as an attorney, as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, as an investigator, where law enforcement was on the scene. And I can't think of one scenario where there was law enforcement officer standing in this posture. This is not a confidence or inspiring posture. His hand is in his pockets. I don't appear, we may see it as we see this video, but it doesn't appear that he has a firearm on him. So I'm going to just go out and say on a limb, based on this image right here, I think that Ronald Byrd Sr. is completely aware that he is not qualified to serve in this capacity. That's why I think he has this real standoff disposition right here, this standoff posture. You're law enforcement. Law enforcement is taught. Law enforcement is military. You rarely see them with hands in their pockets. I know, as an ex-military person, your hands is always supposed to be free. Your hands is always supposed to be free. So, and it doesn't appear that I don't see, maybe on that other side, we can't see. Maybe he has a holster on that other side, but it doesn't look like it. So he's out there, weird ass posture, not looking confidence inspiring, not looking confident he out there, and it appears he doesn't have a weapon. So we're going to talk about that. Big pun. Shout out to everybody in the comment. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Yeah. Oh, I thank you. I appreciate that. Let me give these kids. Round of applause for my Royster, first comment of the day. Hey, salute to you. And also, I always feel good when someone says that, because a lot of people don't appreciate my commentary. So I try to keep it objective as possible. So I definitely appreciate that comment. Now, all right, let's finish watching the video, but just look at his posture throughout this video. Normally when cops on the scene, they're very, very active and involved. He was very, very standoffish, and I'm pretty sure it's because he knows that his ass isn't supposed to be out there because he's not qualified to be in that capacity. That's just my thought. Let's go and finish.
With Liberty flag and banner were removing Henyard's signs. Hired to do so, we are told by a majority of trustees. Henyard wasn't happy. This is body cam footage from an officer called to the scene that day.
Who gave y'all the order to take a sign down? How y'all getting paid? Oh, okay. They're our signs, but they're my signs. So why are you taking them down?
So how many have they already taken down?
They took all of them. Press charges on Keith, just so you know. You might have to write a report to me. Press charges on him, and they just in the middle of it. But if I got to press charges on them too, because they taking government property down. I didn't give that order.
I didn't even know.
Soon, Ronnie Byrd Sr., the temporary police chief, shows up.
Yes.
He gave you all of them?
Yeah. Workers give the banners to Henyard's team. Soon, Ronnie Byrd.
It looked like he got his sidearm on him. If I'm not mistaken, it looked like he does have his weapon
Senior,
on him.
the temporary police chief, shows up.
Yes.
He gave you all of them?
Yeah.
Workers give the banners to Henyard's team, and the matter is cleared up, but not really.
No, we have not received any payment for the banners or the brackets.
How much is still owed?
Now, I was going to look into this. I might look into it later. I just tried to do a Google search because probably no. It could be questionable. Are certain banners and certain things she do where she asserts to promote the village, but it's herself on the flyers, on the image. It could be an argument that those could be illegal campaign contributions if those materials are considered marketing materials for purposes of her campaign, and she's using the village's funds to actually purchase those. But on this one, welcome to Dalton showing the mayor. I mean, that's kind of wild. I've never seen a welcome to a place sign that showed the mayor before, but hey, it's close, but you probably would let it slide in this instance.
The total is $19,899.60 with the freight.
North Carolina-based Mosca Design tells NBC5 the village owes them for the banners and holiday decorations.
It's very frustrating. This was something that we did just based on her call and being so excited, and just took her word for it and the signed documents.
Mayor Henyard's attorney told us.
Now, real quick, pay attention to that comment. Let's rewind that back, and I'm gonna see if I could pause it on the image of the contract. Let me see. Okay, I think that date says 11/15/23, valid through 12/20/23 is what they have for the quote. So I'm interested to see when the actual contract was signed, because she said we just did this on the strength of her calling and being so excited. At the time y'all gave this quote, let's just break this video down. At the time that they gave this quote for services to be rendered, November of 2023, you should have actually been able to just do a Google search and see that funds with relations to this particular municipality, more important, Tiffany Henyard in general, is probably somebody who you just shouldn't be doing work for off the strength of them being excited and not actually paying you any compensation up front. So I thought that was crazy. So we see that the quote was issued in November of last year, and it was good to December of last year. And listen to what she says. Oh, we just did it off the strength of her being so excited. That's kind of y'all fault. Y'all assumed the risk for not doing y'all due diligence, in my personal opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I haven't seen anybody talk about that point, but that's dumb as hell from a business perspective.
And holiday decorations.
It's very frustrating. This was something that we did just based on her call and being so excited.
I call places excited all the time, and they don't do shit for me. I call places, you know how many times I go into places and I'm excited about something and nobody give me nothing without at least putting something down up front. So I feel like she just, if she's the person in charge of doing the contracts, she kind of got finesse. She probably won't ever get that money.
We did just based on her call and being so excited, and just took her word for it and the signed documents.
Mayor Henyard's attorney told us no comment when we reached out for a statement. A majority of trustees sent.
That's just so stupid. I'm sorry. I want to rewind that one more time. What's up, Lisa? I appreciate you tuning in. Hey, I'm not in gullible mode today, all right? I'm calling it right down the middle like I see him. Shout out to you for tuning in. Real quick. This is indicative of, when have we seen this before? Real quick, let me change this camera view, because this is indicative of something else we did a video on. Remember, we did the interview reaction, the reaction to the interview with Tiffany Henyard's landlord, where she had a tenant already lined up, ready to move in. They bought furniture. Tiffany Henyard called her. I don't know what promises or assurances, or if she did it out the kindness of her heart or stupidity, but she was like, oh, I just moved Tiffany in because I know her family and I know her. The landlord got screwed in this case, and this owner, the lady of this North Carolina company who was responsible for the holiday celebration items and the signage that went up, she got finessed the exact same way. She got excited because Tiffany Henyard was excited, and she didn't do her due diligence, and now she asked out $19,000 because she just entered into the contract based off the fact that a woman called and was excited about the signs with her face on them. That's just stupid in my book.
This was something that we did just based on her call and being so excited, and just took her word for it and the signed documents.
Mayor Henyard's attorney told us no comment when we reached out for a statement. A majority of trustees sent us this statement that says Mayor Henyard's continued practice of engaging vendors without authority or board approval is deeply concerning. This disregard for proper protocol serves only to promote her personal agenda while unfairly burdening taxpayers with the costs.
I agree with that. And honestly, I would go as far as to say if she entered into a contract without the proper approving authority, if I was sitting on the trustee panel, I'd be like, I'm not voting to pay that shit. That's y'all entered into a contract with her. Even if she signed that contract in her capacity as mayor, that's y'all fault. That's y'all fault and her fault. So y'all just got finesse.
Let's just pick them up and wipe the slate clean because the community has so many other things they need to really work on.
Mosca Design says it is hopeful that the invoice will be paid by the end of the year. Regina Waldrop, NBC.
Yeah, right. She gonna be waiting. That shit ain't gonna get paid until after the election if someone else wins.
5 News.
Now we're not gonna go through this whole body cam video because the story was only 2 minutes and 22 seconds. This video is 28 minutes, but I want y'all to just look at the body language of Ronald Burge Sr. He's supposed to be the top cop. He doesn't have the qualifications. He doesn't have certification. He hasn't been to the range to qualify. That's actually crazy. If something happened and he actually got the amount of liability that they would be in, that's crazy. Like low key, if I was actually like a savvy person, I would try to put myself in the position where Ronald Burge had to like jack me up and throw me on the pavement. Like they would be open to so much litigation because he's not qualified to have any law enforcement activities. It is absolutely ridiculous. But let's take a look at we're going to skip through. I don't really care about what they're saying. We got the gist of the story. But I want you to look at his body language. His body language is that of someone who isn't confident that he has the authority to be there. He's real standoffish. He's real quiet. We already saw the image where his hands was in his pocket. And anybody in law enforcement will tell you one of the cardinal rules is any person in law enforcement, any person who's been trained in like a martial arts, military, they never have their hands in their pocket. Your hands always have to be free so you can defend yourself or get to your weapon. Hey, I got my weapon on me now. I could get to it at this table if I needed to. So, I mean, I don't know. That's just rule number one. But take a look at his body language at some of the portions of this video. Then we're going to jump to the next segment and the next story.
Call for someone? You did? Okay, they're sending another unit. What else would you like to do?
Now, the officer with the body cam footage is interacting with them. She clearly si habla español muy bien. So she's doing a lot of communication here, but she's acting how you think an officer would act.
Oh, no, English. Hablo español. Okay.
I'm a fast forward to see when we can see Mr. Burge Sr. on the scene.
Told y'all to take him down. He called his boss for it.
Oh, okay.
I work for the. So I said, who gave y'all the order to take the sign down?
Okay, so ella lo que me explica ella es la mayor. Que me dice que él ya no tiene derecho a dar órdenes, ya está despedido.
Es que la verdad a mí no me mandan a hacer el trabajo.
Sí.
La verdad yo no, ¿a qué puedo decirle?
So how many have they already taken down?
All right, here you go. All right, we about to skip to when he's on the scene, man. Let's take a look at his body language.
They're taking down her signs, and I just happened to get caught in the middle. I was coming to like assist somebody, and I didn't, about the signs, whatever. So now, you know what? He's here. Let me let you go.
All right, so they waited for the police chief to be there. Now, watch the police chief's conduct, the top cop's conduct. It's actually quite interesting. And he does have, you can see from this angle, he does have his firearm on him, which is probably another felony altogether. We're going to look at the statute to see how many laws were broken by him in this video shortly.
¿Ya se los dio todos? He gave you all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
What happened? Okay.
Hands in his pocket. He hasn't said one thing. He's just there to be observed. Clearly not confident in his actual authority to be there, in my opinion. And any good defense attorney, anytime if a use of force situation were to happen, the very first, I know I actually dealt with a situation where people didn't understand what the limits of law enforcement jurisdiction were. And I tried to explain to them, if there's a use of force incident or I had a client who was arrested, the very first question I want to know is what all law enforcement was there and who had the right to be there in their official capacity. So, but it's not given I'm supposed to be here. It's given I'm here because she wanted me here, but I don't know if I should be here. So I'm gonna be here, but I'm not gonna be completely as active as I would likely be under any circumstances where I felt I was qualified to be here.
Just one. Okay. You say I'm getting telephone?
He told him to just go. Keep going. What?
Why you up on the telephone?
Oh, for him to leave. I thought keep going. Yeah, it's for him to leave.
All right.
Okay.
So what the email at?
El correo electrónico. His boss, and he said he was
Right,
going to
he
send it
didn't,
to
he
you.
didn't send it.
You want to let me take? Yeah, you don't want to let me take. Se lo doy.
I don't even know why he came, honestly. Like it got resolved or it got addressed without him even being there. I literally don't know why he showed up. I'm assuming he showed up because Tiffany Henyard was there, and either out of an obligation or some type of loyalty, he showed up because she was there, or she may have called him specifically, or had the law enforcement officer on the scene call him specifically to show up. That's what I'm thinking.
Para atrás. I'll give it back, but I want to take this for the report.
A lot?
So it's like a,
40, a bunch of them, yeah. Like 40, 50.
if that was the order, I'm like, well, it says remove, not destroy. So he gave it back to her. She has
All right, so on that video, that's enough of that. But on that video, literally, I don't know. Y'all let me know, but I've seen the video. I seen the video where he was arguing on behalf of his son, who was ultimately convicted of assaulting an elderly woman, which was terrible. But just from that video I saw of him related to that situation, he seems like a cop who is very active. That disposition that we just watched in this video was very inconsistent, in my personal opinion. I agree with you, Lisa. Like, yo, if you enter into a contract, you didn't have the proper signatory authority, and the company was stupid enough to enter into the contract because they was excited you call. If you don't get paid, that's your fault, and wages should be garnished, because I don't think that was a contract entered into on behalf of the municipality. That was a personal contract that you entered into with that company. So I agree with that, and that's actually a good legal argument that could be made. Let's see. Oh, so I could ask that woman excitedly for $50,000, but I'm not going to get it. Why cast? What a cast of characters! Birds look ridiculous as well. I agree. It just make no sense. I've never seen someone was like, well, you know what happens sometimes. I'm assuming this is what happened, okay? Because the invoice that they showed was entered into around this time last year, November, December of last year. All of the financial issues with the village were going on back then. We knew about the misappropriation of funds, confusing township funds with village funds when going on trip. We knew about all of this stuff, but if I had to say why would she do that, she probably just heard that or saw some credentials saying that this person was the title of mayor and was like, oh, it's a mayor. The mayor is going to be good for it. But it's still stupid from a business perspective. And I agree. Being excited does not entitle you to enter into a contract off the strength of just excitement with no other consideration. Yeah, she been running the town like it's a foreign country with no laws. I agree, and it's gonna hopefully, fingers crossed, it catches up with her. Now I want to pull up something real quick. I always like when I do a little research. I want to pull up Illinois statute so we can just see. We're gonna see if Ronald Byrd Sr. is in fact guilty of anything. All right, so we looking at this statute right here. Look at that. See, your boy did some notes. All right, definitions. According to Illinois statute 720 517-2, anyone who misrepresents themselves as one of the following could face charges. So if you misrepresent yourself as any of these, an active duty member of the armed services or reserve forces of the United States, an active duty member of the National Guard, a police officer, sheriff deputy, peace officer, or anything similar in nature. Then I got firefighter, pandemic, public official, blah, blah, blah. Okay, or an actual person, for example, using the police officer's real name when impersonating them. All right. It says misrepresenting oneself includes telling someone that you are a public official and wearing a badge or other identifying emblem that leads people to believe you are part of a police organization. Basically, even if you wear the uniform and say nothing, you can still be charged. Now, there's already a media story out there that this dude with a local state body is saying that this dude doesn't meet the qualifications to even qualify to be in a position as a law enforcement authority. So I think everything is met, but let's go ahead and see. It says sentencing. If a person is caught impersonating a police officer or public official, they will likely be charged with a class 4 felony. This is punishable by up to 3 years in jail and up to a $25,000 in fine. Again, if any additional crimes were committed while impersonating an officer, those charges would be tacked on to the class 4 felony. For instance, pretending to be a cop while carrying a firearm is a class 3 felony. If oscillating police lights are involved, that's a class 2 felony. so I don't know. This is just me. I don't know. I've never seen anybody talk about this with regard to that video. And a lot of people was focused on the sign, and the sign was important. But I was just thinking, like, yo, this dude looked like he breaking a lot of felonies. If he rolled up in a police car with the sirens on, he's likely could be charged with a class 2 felony for having the oscillating, rotating police lights. He's not qualified to be an officer, so he's in essence pretending to be a cop with the firearm, which we were able to confirm. That's a class 3 felony. And also he got the class 4 felony for just impersonating a police officer because he's not qualified to serve in a law enforcement officer capacity. So that's a lot of and just for the class 4 felony, is by up to 3 years in jail. So for each level of felony, he's looking at a class 4, a class 3, and a class 2. Like, bro, that's kind of crazy. So I thought that was interesting to just pull that statue up to talk about all the shit that he clearly appeared to have violated. The other thing is just from a legal standpoint. I don't know if you all remember, I did a video and we talked about and had a discussion related to contempt. And the judge warned, like, hey, if you try to appoint anybody without following the proper procedures, you're going to be held in contempt. Now, I do think that having this guy out there in this capacity is a violation of the contempt order. But I told y'all, when I did that video, I think that judge is all bark and no bite because he gave her the sanction and then he issued a warning and didn't really do shit. When the judge issued a warning, I'm like, oh, you just kind of like a dog who barked, but if I come in the yard, you ain't gonna really do anything. So I would be shocked. But I do think that what's going on with Ronald Byrd Sr. in this capacity in that video particularly is about at least 3 felonies. If he pulled up in a police car with the lights oscillating, it's at least 3 felonies. But I also think that it's a strong potential that conduct, him actually showing up for work, not having the qualifications, would be a violation of the contempt order. That's just my thought. Cops shouldn't have done anything. It's a civil matter. Yeah, it's a civil matter. Cops are liable now. That's a good point. That's a good point. But it's hard to. It's hard to. Uh, a cop who used to showing up and intervening and stuff that he probably shouldn't intervene in. It's gonna be hard to just be like, all right, this is just a civil thing. Is contract, breach of contract, payments, or landlord tenant issues. But it's hard for cops not to involve themselves because, I mean, a few reasons. One, a lot of times, this sounds crazy. A lot of times cops aren't even aware of what the law actually is related to whatever particular situation they may be. A lot of them are, but some of them aren't. They literally have no clue. That's point number one. And point number two, they just been trained to intervene and shit. So if they've been doing that shit for so long, it's hard for them to pull back the reins, so to speak. Oh, hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Martin. I appreciate it. Shout out to you. I'm gonna read this comment out. I don't get this many good ones. It's like I do get a lot of y'all show me a lot of love. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm not a psychopath to try to ride your jock. I can't stand listening to TI-40 rant. So you said broke assessment. Yeah. I mean, some people give good takes on things, but I don't know. When I see it, I like I'll see a video and I'll see a take on something and I'll just see a completely different perspective than what that person is giving a take on. So I'd be like, I know people made videos about this 4 days ago, but I didn't see anybody talking about this part of it. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Shout out to you all. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yeah, now that's a good point. That's a good point. He can have if you are I'm a proud that's a good point. I'm a proud 2A guy. Anybody watch the channel? I even got a video that I did a long time ago. I might have to put that video behind the paywall with how sensitive YouTube is getting. But I got a video where I was talking about how I do some of my hobbies on a budget, and one of them is going to the range. And I had but I had a couple of my Second Amendment firearms in the video, and you had to click all these extra stuff because firearms was in the video. It was ridiculous, actually. But you are 100% right. All right, a civilian wise, you can have access to a firearm as long as it's registered properly. That's 100% true. But for purposes of the statute that we're looking at, so he definitely wouldn't be charged if he's lawfully entitled to actually have the firearm. Because let's say now I'm assuming this isn't his personal firearm, right? I'm just assuming because I can only speak for the law enforcement officers, federal, state, local that I've been around, and I've worked for some of the biggest agencies, alphabet agencies you can think of. Most times, not most times, 99% of the times, when a law enforcement officer is on duty, they aren't carrying their personal firearm. They're carrying the firearm assigned to them by the municipality or the law enforcement agency. That's point number one. So I do agree. Your point is right. If he's it's registered in his name, he has a concealed carry permit. I'm assuming they have. It's not an open carry state in Illinois because they kind of weird sometimes. If he has all the things, he could carry a firearm as a civilian. But the fact that he's in the law enforcement uniform, he has the badge on, he probably rolled up in a police car, he probably had those lights rotating. And the statute says specifically, if a person is caught impersonating a police officer, they will likely be charged. But for instance, if a person is pretending to be a cop while carrying a firearm, it's a class 3 felony. The language in the statute doesn't delineate if a person is carrying a firearm they're lawfully entitled to carry, they wouldn't be charged. It's the impersonation and the addition of a firearm. The statute doesn't make any distinction between if it's your firearm and you're within your right to have it as a civilian, or if it's a firearm designated by the agency. It would literally be like, let's look at this exact scenario, right? Every 6 months, I think it is, every 6 months, federal law enforcement agencies have to go qualify to the range. And I remember having an agent who for whatever reason, I can't remember what it was. Something came up the first qualification, and then they were allowed to get a waiver to carry them over for another 3 months. Then something came up and they couldn't qualify. We actually like, yo, you got to lock your gun up because you haven't qualified at the range. You're not qualified, so you can't carry this firearm that the agency is giving you. And while you're working, you damn sure can't carry your own firearm because that's just going to open the agency up to so much liability. But your overall point is correct. Civilian wise, he can't have access to a firearm as long as it's registered properly and he has the proper either concealed carry or if it's an open carry state. I don't know. I don't think Illinois is an open carry state. I seriously doubt it. Generally, as a civilian, they would be able to carry, but here is the possession of the firearm, him being unqualified to be a law enforcement officer and walking around with that uniform on. And the statute doesn't make a distinction for whether you're in lawful possession of the firearm or not. The statute is focusing on, yo, you got a firearm and you're pretending to be a cop. And I don't know if y'all, it was once this was actually in DC. It was crazy. It was a guy who would he had like fake lights on his car. He would prop the fake lights on his car, pull people over, women, and as he's pulling women over, he would like assault them. So impersonating a police officer is a really fucking big deal because you have no clue. If most people have no clue. Like I know if a police car pulled me over where I'm from, I'm pretty much familiar with the type of cars that they use, unless it's like an undercover or something like that. But I'll generally know. But a person could be riding in a 1989 Monte Carlo. If somebody dropped those blue and red lights and those things start oscillating, as the statute say, 99.9% of people going to pull over. The badge could literally just be a fake badge with a fake number. Most people aren't going to know. They're going to see a cop. They're going to see somebody with like a police vest on or dressed like a police officer, and they're going to assume that, yo, I'm being stopped by law enforcement. So it's actually a really serious crime. It's a really, really serious crime. Hey, I appreciate it. Shout out to the moderators. Shout out to you, Common Sense. Y'all always holding me down as well. I definitely appreciate y'all. You as well. All right, let's go ahead and get to some of these comments. Yeah, good point. See, y'all co-counsel, y'all all over it, man. Y'all be keeping me apprised of what's going on. I agree. If you don't get cash up front, you at least get half up front and then half at the completion of the job. I agree with that 100%. That's a good point. That's like business and common sense 101 for business. The cop gave back Tiffany the merchandise, defeating the whole purpose of why that company paid that bad to remove and retrieve them. They took double L's, right? They took double L's. They entered into a contract because Tiffany Henyard was excited for $19K, 19 plus K. Then they paid somebody to come out there and remove the signs and then gave them back. That's crazy. And all she probably gonna do is have somebody from the municipality put the signs back up. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Make sure. Yeah. Yeah. Chat birds. Yeah, they nothing gonna happen to him. And like I said, I don't. Yep. He can follow the rules as a civilian, but as an officer, he still needs to meet the burdens of legal statute as a law enforcement when representing. Hey, 100% accurate. Shout out to you, co-counsel. That's a 100% accurate. Yeah. I know. I just saw a video too. Like, hey, I don't want to. I know everybody try to beat me up because they like, man, this dude, you a Harris dude. No, you a Trump dude. But hey, this is just me. I'm a just 2A guy. I saw that they've been repurposing the video from 2023 where President-elect Trump was talking about making making a concealed carry permit universal across state lines as long as you have one in your home state. And I was like, oh man, they got the House and the Senate. That actually might pass now. So, hey, I mean, it is what it is. Hey, I'm a 2A guy. I think everybody should have one. There are too many guns on the street. But until they figure out how to get the bad guys from having them, I'm going to have mine too. That's always been my rule and my position. That's always been my rule and my position. All right, let's pivot into story number 2. Story number 2 is the title of the thumbnail. We're going to go ahead and Let's get that queued up. But this one is about the trustees being strategic. Now, I've done a lot of videos where I've talked about how the trustees, if they can have enough votes, they can kind of coalesce and really beat the hell out of the mayor. The problem is most times the trustees in any capacity are, whether it's the village, whether it's the township, there's always this split. You have a couple of loyalists who remain over here, a couple of people over here who want to do their own thing, and it really doesn't guarantee them a certain amount of votes. So I think they're actually doing, which is probably the next best thing. If you can't garner enough votes to stomp the mayor out and put all of the power with the trustees, the next best thing to do is exactly what they're doing, is nothing. Don't do shit. Don't do absolutely anything. Stall out, wait for an election, and pray to God that she doesn't win. So I'm pretty sure this is the route that they're going. Let's go ahead and queue up this. Let me see. We already went there. Let's go ahead and queue up this next video so we can talk about it. Let's see how we want to do this. Skip. Yeah.
Tonight in South Suburban Thornton Township, another challenge to Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
And WGN's Jenna Barnes has details on a boycott by trustees to halt Henyard's agenda.
Well, the power struggle here in Thornton Township has reached the point where trustees prevented Supervisor Tiffany Henyard from getting what she wants by strategically staying home.
If you want the tea, get it from me.
Supervisor Tiffany Henyard planned to appoint a new trustee in Thornton Township during its regularly.
And I don't know if y'all noticed this, but when Tiffany Henyard come to these meetings and she got on like that black T-shirt, she be like in a more so overly aggressive mood more
scheduled
than usual.
Meeting. The vacancy created by another trustee's resignation. Henyard says the appointment would have created what she calls balance on the board, but two other trustees blocked it from happening by not showing up to the meeting.
We feel that it's necessary to have that go to the people. Let the people choose.
It's not to harm, to hurt, to stop, but to ensure that the right.
Now, remember, this story A was a village story. This second segment story is a Thornton Township story. And every time I see, let me go back. Every time I see this guy, I just find it so ironic because this was the guy we did a video when I first started covering this, where he was the person who was like, let's put Tiffany in that seat. And it was unbeknownst to him of the debacle that was going on in the village of Dalton. So, like, you know, real talk, this guy has a lot to own up with regard to this terrible situation that the township is actually in.
It's not to harm, to hurt, to stop, but to ensure that the right things are being done for the residents of Thornton Township.
With Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle absent, there was no quorum. The meeting and the appointment couldn't happen. This wasn't the first time they've skipped meetings. Henyard accuses them of causing gridlock in a township where she touts surpluses in the budget.
If the board do not show up, we are not able to pay bills. We are not able to handle the business.
Henyard's monologue continued after the meeting on Facebook Live.
And remember, I always said this, stop lying on me before I stop telling the truth on you. If they don't know, Trustee Carlisle was appointed to her seat as trustee.
On that same live stream, Henyard announced she plans to win re-election in Thornton Township and in Dalton, where she's mayor, by a landslide. She hasn't filed for the race in Thornton Township, but she already faces a challenge from Harvey Mayor Christopher Clark. In Dalton, trustee Jason House is looking to unseat her. At the last meeting in Dalton, trustees voted to return 3 luxury SUVs leased for Henyard. We now know 2 of them have been returned. The third remains in use by Henyard.
There we go. I know there was a lot of talk in the chat about shout out to everybody who wanted to know what was going on with the SUVs, with the Tahoes. 2 of them are back where they rightfully belong, and 1 of them is still being used by Henyard. There's a lot of questions about those damn vehicles.
And I'm going to be expecting an apology later on because I will be suing a lot of individuals for defaming my name.
Henyard at the end there taking a swing at the press and her doubters. She did announce that she's planning to find a way to refund about $2 million in property taxes to homeowners. That's an initiative that hasn't been taken up by the board in recent meetings because of these absences. In South Holland, Jenna Barnes, WGN News.
All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna get to that story. That's gonna be the story we close things out with. So hey, I was just going through some of these comments real quick on the concealed carry. Shout out to Idaho to carry open or conceal. I never understand why somebody would want to open carry. As a former military person who's been in a war zone, and it don't make a difference. You can carry whatever you want, big gun, small gun. If you don't use it or practice with it, it's a waste of time. If you don't have conflict avoidance skill and de-escalation skills, it's a waste of time to even have. Those are the most important things. But I never understood why you want to open carry. Open concealed carry. The benefit of, I don't know, like, just if I'm doing something bad and I see you open carrying, you're gonna be the first person that I target. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Like, as somebody who's open carrying, to me, I'm like, they probably don't even go to the range. They probably don't know how fast their draw is. They don't know what position a bad guy would have to be in to have a 2-second draw, a 1.5 second draw, a 1 second draw, and be successful. Because the benefit of having a concealed, you have the element of surprise when nobody know that you have it on you. And I also seen a bunch of videos where people had open carry weapons and they let somebody walk behind them in the gas station line and snatch the firearm. So it gets a little bit ridiculous. They still house with their parents. Yeah, I got some crazy stuff in my parents. I got some crazy stuff in my dad's house. I got some crazy stuff in my dad's house. But my dad live in a state where you can buy whatever you want. And unfortunately, I don't. She has lawsuit money. Yeah, the town's money. There should be no more lawsuits filed. Like, I don't care what Henyard does. I don't care what she does in her capacity as mayor. I don't care what she does in her capacity as supervisor. There should be no more lawsuits filed, because the loser in all of these lawsuits are essentially the citizens of the township, the citizens of the village, because they're the ones paying for everything on both sides, because it's a battle within entities contained inside the municipality. So, like, no more lawsuits. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing and just stall her out. I appreciate that comment. Shout out to you, and I appreciate all the positive feedback, everybody. Really? See, damn it, no apologies. No apologies, just me. Damn it, no apologies. Now I'm gonna have to look after I get off this thing and look at this guy. It's like jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. That's crazy. Could the trustees sue her for like a gatekeeper order so she can't keep suing them without approval from a third party? Probably not. I seriously doubt it. I just don't see it. It's really hard. Because I can sue anybody for anything. Like, I could file a lawsuit against you right now for damn near anything, whether it happened or not. The ability to file a lawsuit is one of the rights that in the United States we're probably going to give the benefit of the doubt to people on. So I don't know if something like that would actually be plausible. I doubt it, because the ability to file a lawsuit to exercise or rectify some particular grievance or harm is a paramount thing within the United States. So I seriously doubt it. I would be shocked. That's actually funny. Hey, that would actually be hilarious. They report the car stolen. Yeah, that would actually be pretty funny. And I don't know. That's interesting. if she doesn't have the right to actually still have the vehicle, if that's an argument, it wouldn't be found a false police. Okay, open carry a big. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I know. I want to go bear hunting. You know, you go bear hunting some places, you got to have at least like if you got a handgun, I wouldn't have a handgun. I have a shotgun, but you have to have at least like a 10 millimeter shotgun because there's like a 9 millimeter won't do anything but piss a bear off. Yep, to exercise their rights just to make a point, they can be just as difficult. I agree. Let's see. Defamation is a person reason, right? Yeah, it's I mean, I don't know. I don't know. She talks about suing people for defaming her character, but the problem is if everything that someone is saying about you is substantiated by facts presented in a media publication or some media medium like the news or some type of internal audit is not defamation. You know, truth is always a defense to defamation. So see, I don't know. That's a good point. I appreciate. I'm gonna look into that. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked. I'm not really a family law guy. I'd rather deal with criminals and anything than family law. Woo, family law suck. Ain't no way in hell. No way in hell. Trust me, you can't clap or talk in the town hall meetings or be subject to arrest. You really need to look into Mayor Christopher Clark. He's an attorney. Oh my God, we gotta. No, say it ain't so. He's an attorney. Oh man, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. But yeah, I'm gonna check him out. That's actually interesting. He running it like he running a dictatorship over there. You can't do anything in a town hall meeting. That's insane. But I think the trustees are doing probably the best thing in the interest of the people by just stalling. I don't think them showing up without having the requisite amount of votes to bar the mayor from doing what she wants to do would be a disastrous thing to do. So I kind of agree with them not showing up. The other thing is filing litigation at this point is just a waste of taxpayers' money. Just stop it. It's only a few months left. If y'all can stall out between that, and I'm gonna just be honest, like this time of year, I'm telling y'all right now, I don't plan on going in any courtroom between now and like January 3rd. Between now and like January 3rd, maybe like nobody wants to be in court this time of year. So even if they file some litigation, man, I don't know. Maybe a judge will want to hear it because it's dealing with this tomfoolery. But I just think the filing litigation is just a pointless way to go. You may not get it addressed in time or before the end of the calendar year, is wasting taxpayer monies. So I think this is actually the smartest tactic that they can do is just stall. If they can stall, that's a good thing. Now, I will tell you, if I were Tiffany Henyard and these people aren't showing up to meetings, if she is going to file litigation, that would be the litigation to file, saying that these people are strategically stalling, and this is putting the municipality at a detriment because we can't handle municipality business. That would be an argument it would be a fair argument. If I was a judge, whatever. That's a whole nother story, but it's going to be interesting to see how it play out. But I think that it's a good strategy, and it's probably the best strategy that they could make. How can someone who does not pay their rent afford a look? I don't know. See, I don't know. I don't think she didn't pay her rent because she couldn't. I think she didn't pay her rent because she just didn't want to, or she didn't have to. Like, I mean, in that interview that she did with Investigate and Advocate channel on YouTube, she essentially said, "Oh, sometimes she would be late, but I would just let her pay it late because I needed my money." And the lady is on the verge of getting the house foreclosed. So some people in the comments was like, "Hey, Tiffany actually may not be paying this lady, so the house could go on the foreclosure, so she could buy it on the back end," which would be crazy. That would actually be crazy, but it's not uncommon. Hell, I had family members who went into foreclosure. I got one of my houses now, a family member went into foreclosure, and I was like, no, we gotta keep this house in the family. So just bought it at the foreclosure on the low. Now it wasn't like a planned thing. I wasn't like, yo, don't pay your bill, homie, so I could come back in and swoop this property up off you. It just happened to work out that way. So it's interesting. I don't think that her not paying her landlord was because she didn't have the funds. I just don't think she gave a damn about the landlord to pay her. That is going to be the question. Because I mean, if I were attorney and if I was Tiffany Henyard attorney, if I was shout out to Max Solomon for being able to practice law and doing what he needed to do to comply with the terms and get that suspension removed. Shout out to him. But if I was her attorney, that would be the position I would argue. I'd be like, nah, we got to at least file one more lawsuit because the court could potentially force the trustees to actually show up and do their job. Like not showing up for viable reasons related to security could be one argument that's viable, but not showing up consistently, not allowing business to get done. I don't know. I think any court would see that and look at it as sketch. I would see that and look at it as sketch. Like, yo, y'all got to show up to do the job. When y'all hear how y'all vote is up to y'all. Y'all can vote against all the shit she want to do. And if y'all got the votes to support it, perfect. But, but I agree. If the township trustees don't show up, how can... Yeah, now she technically can't. She technically can't spend the money unilaterally, but she has been spending the money unilaterally, and therein lies the problem. It's a two-part problem. It's one, she's the problem because she's signing off on expenses and entering into contracts on behalf of the municipality, even though the proper authorization hasn't got pushed through. But the other side is on the vendors as well. The vendors have to have, and I've been involved in the bid process for government contracts, and most time people know what the requirements are. Like in most cases, if you try to a vendor who's been in the game for a while, and if they don't have the proper authorities, they're going to be like, oh no, they'll send it back and be like, oh, we can't do this because y'all missing signature on line 13 and 27 before we can call this contract as being final and move on to the next stage where we perform the services or provide the product. So technically she can't. Contractors are just like, yo, she's the mayor, so we're just allowing this shit to happen, which is weird in and of itself. But typically, if the trustees aren't showing up, if the proper persons aren't signing off to enter into the contracts, she should not be able to unilaterally do it. But it's a part of it is her, and the other part of it is the vendors that she's entering into these agreements with. I don't know. That's actually a good question. Hey, shout out to you. That's actually a good question. I'm gonna have to let me see if I can find something real quick. Yeah. Don't be giving her legal advice like duly noted. Just try. I try to be objective from both sides. You said she be creeping in these chats. Hey, shout out to people creeping in the chats to find legal advice from attorneys on YouTube. That's kind of wild. Let me see. Let me see her story before we get out of here. I want to see. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna look that up, and I'm gonna look that up. That's actually a good question. I tried to see if I could Google it real quick. Yeah, the banners were a Dalton thing. Story segment 1 was a Dalton thing. Segment 2 was a township thing. So yeah, you're right on that. You're right on this. Had the trustees or a citizen gone back to the judge who ruled she could not hire Burge for 30 days, informing him that Burge is not qualified? I don't believe so. I haven't seen an article. That is actually the proper move to make. If you're on the village trustee side, that's actually the proper argument to make. I do believe that hire, Burge standing out there with no qualifications to be a law enforcement officer, and her putting him in that role is, I think, a clearly obvious violation of the court's order. But I told y'all how I feel about the judge. I'd be shocked if the judge did something about it. That would be great if it was brought back up to court. But I felt like from his last threat, he was more bark than more bite. Because judges take their orders. If you violate a court order, judges don't like to give second chances on that shit. Like, judges like, yo, you violate a court order that I put in, me personally. Now, like, literally, I've seen defendants come in court for violating the court order, and they're in district court in front of Judge A. But Judge A, like, oh, it was a violation of such and such court order. Judge A looks through the file and say, oh, I didn't write this order. So because I didn't write this order, so I'm not going to make a decision on another judge's order. So they'll pull out the calendar and say, hey, we're going to continue this and get it back in front of the judge who wrote the order. Judges are real particular about it. So I was shocked to see him give her a stern talking to, like, real judges who like standing on business, so to speak, when it comes to violating their orders. They don't like to give I'm gonna check it out because I want to know how many meetings can they miss and if there's a limit. There has to be. You would think there would be something to that effect. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. Shout out. Round of applause for my guy, Paul. A shout out to you. I appreciate that. So we're about to pivot into segment number 3. Now, segment number 3, we're going to come back to a place where I'm from, okay? Y'all in the chat, some people out in the chat, y'all actually live in Dalton and in the township, and God bless y'all. I hope everything work out for the better. But now we got to look back, and we're going to pivot back and look at bad politicians in my area. We're going to go back to D.C. Council member Trayon White. And I told you, I've met Trayon White many times in a personal capacity and a professional capacity during employment when I was working with certain municipalities. He, maybe about a year and a half ago, I think I told y'all when I did the reaction to his bribery, when we went through his bribery indictment, which was wild. Like his bribery indictment, I mean, audio, video footage, it was absolutely terrible. But he actually spoke at a memorial service for a family member of mine who passed away. So I know this dude. He was facing bribery charges. Let's go ahead. I want to get everybody up to date. Let me hit this one comment up. Interesting. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. And I'm not saying that I know she lied, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a fabrication or there was some what do they call them? What was the phrase that Trump called? Alternative facts. There was some alternative facts going on. So let me go ahead and queue up story number 3. Now, I'm bringing this story up because this is interesting, okay? This is a politician who was charged, indicted with federal bribery charges, and still up for election in light of actually being arrested, taken in custody, making a bond. He has a court date, I think, early next. It might actually be later this month. I need to take a look at that. I got to take a look at that. But we're going to watch a couple of news articles because I want to make sure everybody know. We kind of know what's going on with the super mayor. But, you know, this council member Trayon White, everybody may not be up to breast. So we're going to watch a few news videos to get up to speed. And then we're going to talk about what happened in his election and what is there a possibility that this could happen in an election coming next year with regard to Tiffany Henyard. So let's go ahead and jump into this video. That's wild to get out on jail and you get pulled out on bond wearing that wild outfit. But let's go ahead let's check out video number. And the videos aren't long; they're like a couple of minutes. Because y'all know I don't like to watch too long videos unless it's something really hilarious or interesting.
Any statement you want to make?
Trayon White was surrounded by supporters as he left the federal courthouse this afternoon. The Ward 8 council member said nothing as he was quickly ushered into the back of a car, which then sped away. Inside the packed courtroom on the second floor, White put his hands together in prayer and thumped his chest as he acknowledged supporters. He said little other than to confirm his age and that he knew the seriousness of the charges against him, a possible sentence of 15 years in prison if convicted. In the 37-page criminal complaint, the FBI lays out a series of conversations a cooperating witness recorded having with the Ward 8 council member since June. Prosecutors say all of the conversations were recorded in a car.
It was actually terrible. I'll post a link in the description or pin it in the comments to the video I did on this. And actually, well, I went through the indictment. I'll post the link to 2 videos because I did one where I went through the indictment, it was sad because it's always sad to see a politician crash and burn, but it was actually hilarious. I thought it was quite funny. But I also did a collaboration with my guy. Shout out to Pocket Watching with JT, where he's a certified financial planner, and we covered this bribery case with Trayon White as well.
Wired for video and sound. According to the documents, in one conversation with what the FBI calls a confidential human source, the source handed White an envelope with $5,000. That's for making sure you reach out to government employee 3 and government employee 4. White then says, I'm on top of all of that. You know me, I'm already moving. Once you and I lock eyes and gets to an understanding, I gets to work. I can make some expletive happen. The complaint includes photos of White allegedly taking the cash payments, which according to the FBI broke down like this. June 26th, $15,000. July 17th, $5,000. July 25th, $10,000. And August 9th, $5,000. Trayon White was arrested yesterday afternoon outside an apartment building in Southeast. This photo a neighbor shared with News 4 shows FBI agents in tactical gear next to a car White was driving. A Tesla with Ward 8 councilmember plates was parked outside. The FBI in its complaint states White agreed to accept $156,000 in undisclosed kickbacks and agreed to 3% payment of contract values, $35,000 in cash payments. White's attorney, Fred Cook, had no comment as he left the courthouse. The Ward 8 council member is due back in court September 19th.
All right, let's check out story number 2.
Meanwhile, we move now to some breaking news.
Now, real quick, the funniest thing that I think y'all need to know is before we get into it, and we're going to loop this back into the re-election efforts of Tiffany Henyard, because 2 different situations in my personal opinion. But the interesting thing with this case was the individual who was a confidential informant actually in 2016, I believe, previously worked with the same council member, Trayon White, related to him accepting a bribe to do something else. And in 2016, whatever the bribe was for, Trayon White failed to hold up his end of the bargain. And that's always a big red flag. I'm not trying to tell nobody how to break the law, but if I pay you a bribe to do A and you don't do A, and 5 years later I come back to you again to pay you more money to do B, and I already know you didn't do A, it's probably a setup. Why the hell would I go back to a hitman who didn't take care of business the first time I hired him? That would just be dumb. So it was some real ridiculous things going on. Let's go ahead and check out this update. So we know he charged with federal bribery charges. He's on camera. He's on audio. It's looking really bad. There's a confidential informant. And let's take a look at this update right here.
To our newsroom in the last 2 hours. New information that could indicate the bribery case against D.C. Councilmember Trayon White is just the tip of the iceberg.
Our chief investigative reporter, Eric Flack, spent the past 2 hours poring over these documents to bring us the very latest details. And Flack, this could really be a bombshell here.
Yeah, it really could, Simone. And let's start by saying the court documents unsealed just 2 hours ago are not part of the Trayon White investigation. They are part of the criminal case against the informant who agreed to turn in Trayon White after he was arrested on his own charges. This is a guilty plea signed by Alo Camara to charges of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and bribery. Now, in the bank.
So, just so we tracking what happened, this individual who's charged with conspiracy to commit bank fraud, bribery, is some PPP fraud in there. He was the informant or the setup guy in the Trayon White case, so that we know what's going on here. So that's kind of the background. This guy had charges. He was being indicted on those charges, and this is exactly what happened. The news isn't reporting this, but I've been doing this for damn near 15 years. I know how it goes. This guy was indicted on these charges, and he sat in front of the investigators and said, wait, before y'all rake me over the coals, I know a council member taking bribes. And they said, okay, tell us about it. And he said, well, in 2016, and they said 2016, that's kind of old. We need something more current. So then they sent him back out to engage in the previous conduct from the previous video that we just watched. So you'll see the bribes that Trayon White took literally occurred over June, July, and August, a 3-month period, a 90-day period where that entire investigation was done to jam him up. But this case right here is related to the person who essentially, I'm not going to say is a setup, but we'll use it for explanation purposes. This is the individual, the source, the setup guy who recorded Trayon White and got him jammed up. This is his case.
Fraud case, Camara to charges of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and bribery. Now, in the bank fraud case, Camara admitted to working with 3 unnamed co-conspirators, one of them identified as a DC government contract specialist with DC's Child and Family Services Agency. They are accused collectively of working together to steal millions in bogus Paycheck Protection Program or PPP loans. PPP was a pandemic-era government loan program to help small businesses. Now, in the bribery case, court documents reveal from January 2019 to December 2023, quote, Camara engaged in a scheme in which public officials and District of Columbia, employees of the District of Columbia, provided Camara with confidential information and directed government contracts and grants to businesses he controlled in exchange for a percentage of the government contracts he obtained through their unlawful assistance.
All right, so we don't even got to get through the whole video. So this is what, so this is where we at. Council members charged with bribes. He's on tape. He's audio, video recording. My legal opinion, my legal analysis is that he's up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. All right, confidential informant has his own case. The snitch has his own case. That's why I believe he ended up rolling up Trayon White, trying to get himself a much better deal and make his situation more favorable. Now, let's talk about this. An election was coming up, all right? This is where it gets interesting, and we're going to talk about this situation in Tiffany Henyard's re-election. An election is coming up, and council member Trayon White is still on the ballot. And the Ward 8 they're just kind of all over the place. You got some people saying, hey, free Trayon. And you got other people saying like, man, this dude ain't shit. Trying to steal money for a program that's supposed to get gun violence off the street, taking bribes. This is absolutely terrible. So the election comes and goes. Now you got someone who's actually charged with a federal crime. Election comes and goes, and this is the outcome.
Also excited, man, that the people of Ward 8 came out in the tens of thousands to vote and support me. Going through a lot of controversy, but the people have spoken. I spent over 20.
Now I know when you see this, when I saw the headline, I'm like, damn, they voted for the dude who was on video taking bribes, taking their tax dollars so he could. If you go back and watch the video, I'm gonna pin it in the comments, but he literally asked the guy, yo, I need another $5,000 because my baby mother going on a girls trip. I'm like, what, bro? He like, I was actually I wanted to see what his baby mother looked like, because I was like, man, you simping out for you simping out committing fraud to pay for your baby mother's girl trip is kind of wow. But I know when I first saw the headline, Trayon White wins re-election in Ward 8, I just thought like, damn, people will vote for anything. But this is actually a good thing, and I'll tell you why.
People of Ward 8 came out in the tens of thousands to vote and support me. You know, I'm going through a lot of controversy, but the people have spoken. I spent over 23 years of my life serving in this ward, even before the council member. And they showed up today. I've been serving and working in the trenches, creating bridges for people, and they came out today to support me, so I'm excited today.
You kind of briefly touched on it, some of the controversies you've experienced. Does that give you any pause or concern going into the election? And how are you feeling now that you've been reelected?
Absolutely not. I feel like historically, people have been behind me and supported me through my ups and downs. And so they came out tonight. Over 17,000 people counted already in support of my leadership here in the ward. I just want to send a message loud and clear to DC Council and the naysayers that we're here to stay.
Absolutely. Is there anything you want to say to just the constituents as a whole about what they should expect from you going forward in your next term?
Every day I wake up, I put my clothes on, get out, and go to work and serve the residents here in Washington, D.C., most specifically the residents here in Ward 8. And I plan on keep on doing that until God takes me out of here. So I'm excited tonight, want to celebrate this moment for me, my family, and I want to thank all those who are in Ward 8 that came out and voted for me tonight, man. I love you. I appreciate you. We're going to continue to work on the front line, do God's work here in the earth, here in Ward 8. Thank you.
Oh man, all the holistic talk just drive me crazy. All the holistic talk just drive me crazy. But it's funny. I would not be surprised if over half of the PPP money was stolen or squandered. I agree. Yo, you'll never believe, like, to this day, I get people who I haven't seen in decades who just send me a random message on like social media, like, yo, bro, I got a grand jury subpoena. What should I do? I'd be like, I don't know. You might want to hire a lawyer. Like, if you got a grand jury subpoena, hey, it's all right. If you at that stage, you need to just go ahead and ante up. Not surprised. What's going on, No Weapon? I appreciate you tuning in. Only thing that might be wilder if he was a convicted of felonies and still won election. Hey, that is a fair comment, but remember, we had a mayor who, was convicted of felonies and he won another election as mayor. And honestly, like, this sounds crazy when like the best mayor I remember is somebody who was convicted of using crack. Is probably terrible. Like, oh man, that don't even sound good me saying it. That don't even sound good me saying it, But it is what it is. Trump won his election. Facts. He never had the intentions to do any work for that, but no, he wasn't going to do anything. He just was trying to siphon off. I support the councilman. Hey, shout out to you. Now this is why I bring that video up, because I just did a short just saying, yo, he won his election, even in spite of having to deal with the federal bribery charges. And somebody left a comment, something to the effect, I'm not going to go and find it, but the comment was something to the effect of, seeing this outcome gives me no faith that seeing this outcome scares me because the same thing could likely happen to Tiffany Henyard. And I thought about it and I was like, again, Tiffany Henyard has no federal indictment, no federal charges. So the two situations are different. One person has federal investigations and the specter of a lot of misappropriation of funds, overspending, potential campaign finance violations, and a whole shitload of other stuff we talked about. I did a video of 5 things she could likely be charged with, federal crimes. But the other person, on the other hand, actually charged in court, pled not guilty. But I don't think that, well, 2 things. The video that Tiffany Henyard did, where she talked about how the trustees didn't show up, I actually went back and looked at that video. I actually pulled it up on Facebook, and you can even see when you look at that video on the news, it was a lot of laughing emojis. I don't know if everyone who clicked the laughing emoji or made a emoji comment with regard to that video stayed in the actual village. But most people generally don't have, well, I'm not going to say most people. I think a higher population of people have a negative view of Tiffany Henyard than they have for council member Trayon White. And that's because even though this dude, if I'm going to be charged with a federal crime, the better position, I don't want to be charged with a federal crime. Knock on wood. Trust me, I do not. I don't even want to speak that. If someone else, not me, I'm not even going to put that shit in the ecosystem. If someone is charged with a federal crime, the position to be in is the position that Trayon White was in. He was a council member. He had no specter of misconduct surrounding him. Then he gets a federal indictment. Then the election comes around. As opposed to Tiffany Henyard, her situation is she has no federal indictment, but she has years of allegations, media articles, people, business persons testifying to being shaken down. She has years of bad misconduct, bad behavior. Then the election comes up, and let's say the indictment comes up before, after, whenever. Her position is a much worse position to be in, because it's one thing to be charged with a crime when everybody see you in a positive light. That's how Trayon White's situation was, versus being charged with a crime when everybody think you are a piece of a POS. Yeah, everybody think you're trash to begin with. One situation is indicative of what we saw. This dude is probably going to win re-election. The other one is, yo, this isn't, you're just now being charged, but you've been cutting loose, shooting from the hip, thinking this was the wild, wild west for over 2 years. So I think the situations are completely different, two different situations. And I think that the council member was actually in a much better position to win his re-election, because prior to that charge, there was, I mean, he had some things that were newsworthy. Like it was something like a incident where there was an accident at one point in his vehicle, and whether he was driving, and he said somebody borrowed the car, but it was nothing negative about him related to how he represented the people. And when you have that, the people will give you one fuck up. If you're a good politician and you generally have, people generally have a good view and hold you up in a good light, you probably get the benefit of the doubt with one fuck up. But if people think like you've been jacked up for 2 years, they hold you in a bad light, then you get a federal indictment, nobody's going to give a flying, nobody's going to care. So I think they're two separate situations. I think that Trayon got reelected because he had an overall good favorability with his delegation. I think if Tiffany Henyard gets charges, I don't think her favorability rating is probably like 10. It's probably crazy low, where Trayon's was actually crazy high. That's why I think people came out to vote for him. That's my personal opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think. The other thing too, let's just pivot back to Trayon White, is actually more favorable that he did get reelected. Because I know when I first saw the headline, I was like, damn, they'll vote for anybody. But think about it. What would be the option? The people go vote for his opposition, the Republican candidate, and now they're stuck with the Republican candidate. So it actually works out better for the voters, and I think the voters did the right thing. I don't know if they did the right things for the right reason, but I think that they did the right thing. Even though he has these federal charges and he has to go to court and fight these in court, we're going to re-elect him as our Ward 8 council member. They re-elect him. If he is convicted, the city council is going to vote him out of that seat, and they're going to have a special election. And now the electorate will have an opportunity to at least get another Democrat in that seat, because that's what they're going to want, because DC is one of the bluest places ever with their whack Second Amendment laws. But hey, shout out to them. At least they let you carry a pistol now, except for downtown, but that's a whole nother story. But so strategically, him winning re-election was the best move for the constituents, because he won re-election. If he has to eat this conviction, He'll be voted out of his seat. They'll have a special election, and the electorate will actually have an opportunity to vote on a candidate in a special election. So it works out, I think. But I think those two situations are completely different. Let me go ahead and hit these comments up. Yeah, I agree. The crooks are taking over. It's pretty sad too. Like, I could literally just make content on mayors who do crazy stuff. The mayor of Oakland, yeah, her name was I can't think of her name. It was an Asian woman who was the mayor who federal charges. It just get ridiculous. Yeah. I know that's going to be a news cycle. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be an interesting news cycle. Yep, it happens with the president elect. But yeah, what are y'all talking about? That's fair. Yeah, yeah. I mean, felons win elections. Convicted felons win elections all the time. Like I said, we had a mayor in DC who was a convicted felon who was on video using crack. I was like, that's crazy. And we was like, you know what? Let's give this dude another shot. Then after he was mayor, then they voted him for Ward 8 City Council. Literally, he held the same seat that Trayon White had prior to him passing away. So it is what it is. Lori Lightfoot never gave a final report to the residents, just preliminary. Did she give it to the FBI? Maybe. She probably did. The FBI probably reached out to her. But I talked about that report. Like, I don't know. Lori Lightfoot report to me is just kind of weak sauce because she doesn't have any subpoena authority. If you don't got any subpoena authority to force a government official to have to comply with the request, you're going to be looking for records, and we don't have this or we don't have that. That's why it would have been really good if like the state AG or the state inspector general actually did it, because now if you don't comply with an investigation by those state agencies, you could actually be fired from your job. So that would have been dope, you know. What's going on, Pretty Eyes? I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, hey, felons get convicted all the time. This is interesting because I don't know if I told this story, but I had a client once. This is a good question, but I had a client once, and you know, in order to go to federal prison, you have to have 12 months in a day, pretty much. You got to have more than a year to go to federal prison. And this guy was charged with state charges, but if you're there more than a year on state charges, they just move you to the federal holding federal prison. And so I can't remember what his charges were. It was a low-level felony, and we worked out a plea agreement, and he was actually happy with the plea agreement. He was like, yo, I think I want to take the plea agreement. It may have been for, I don't know, 9 months, 10 months, something like that. It was less than a year. And I remember taking the plea agreement to him like, hey, okay, this is the plea agreement we got worked out based on these factors. These were the mitigating factors that we talked about that I provided. Prosecution provided these aggregated factors. This is what we got. I presented to you. I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you, hey, this is the maximum you could be facing with the charges you got. This is the minimum. This is what the plea is. The decision is up to you. Take it or not. If you don't want to take it, you have to sign this saying that I showed you this plea with this date. And I tendered him everything. And he looked at his plea agreement and was like, hey, can you go back and see if you can get me 12 months in a day? I want more than a year because I want to go to federal prison. And I was like, bro, what? Like, I was like, you want to go to federal prison? Like, you don't want to stay at like the local jail where like you're from this neighborhood and your family could come visit? And he was like, nah, man. He's an older guy. He probably was like mid-40s. Mid-40s in jail is an old head. So he probably was like mid-40s at the time. And he was like, nah, I don't want to stay there. I already told my family about it. So I actually had to go to the prosecutor and be like, yo, because I can't just be like, well, you might as well just plead guilty in front of the judge and see what the judge do. Because the judge could hit you over the head and you be sitting in custody for years. So I actually had to go. Actually, I had to make him sign something saying that, because I didn't want to. Let's say I didn't make him sign something. He gets the 12 months in a day, and then he goes to federal prison, and now he like, oh, I don't want to do this. My attorney made me take a plea. He never told me about the other plea. I'm like, nah, I look like this, but I'm not stupid. So I actually made him sign something, stating that he's declining plea number 1 for the 8 months, and he would like me to go back to the prosecutors and see if he can get a plea more in this range, which is more than the 8 months. And I was like, I could do that, but why would you want to do that? Like, every time I come visit clients at the local jail, all I hear is they in there playing basketball and shit. I'm like, damn, I wish I could be hooping right now. My ass working. So they always playing basketball. But he said he didn't enjoy being in local jails. He preferred to be in prisons because at the local jails, he was like, there's a much younger population there. And the younger guys just don't have no respect. In the federal prison, they'll classify people by age and by the nature of the charges that you're with. So if you're a younger person who's violent, you're over here. If you're an older person who's nonviolent, you're over here. So he also said the food was better. He said you had more privileges. You're not in your cell as long as you are at the local jail. So a lot, and that wasn't a one-time thing. It happened a handful of times, maybe 3 to 5 times, but it's not an uncommon thing. I don't want to go to either one of them, but I would think that prison would be worse. But I've seen the opposite too. I've seen people like, hell nah, man, I don't want to go to prison. They'd be like, could you get me 2 months less instead of the 13 months? Can you get me 11 months? I don't want to go to prison. I'll do a drug treatment program. I'll get my GED while I'm inside. So I've seen it cut both ways, but a lot of people are of the opinion that they would rather be in a federal prison than be at a local jail. Yeah. Hey, yeah, I appreciate that. Shout out to you for that. That was very I'm very appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of all y'all in the chat as well. Yeah. We like you know why? This is just me. I think we as a whole like a redemption story. I think we as a whole generally like a redemption story. So I think what we want to see is somebody who is talented, who goes off of the trail that they should for a little bit. They have some troubles, some trials and tribulations, as they always say. Folks say they have some trials and tribulations, but then they kind of right the ship. They find out what their purpose is. They live in that purpose, and they go on to do great things. So that's why we kind of like to see, like, I don't think we like to see people flame out. Some people may, but I don't think generally we like to see people crash and burn. I think generally, though, we do like seeing a story of redemption, a story of overcoming. Like I told y'all the other day when we was talking about the Diddy stuff. Yo, the Shine documentary, that may be the greatest hip hop story that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, a greater story than Jay-Z, a greater story than Tupac because he not here, greater story than Biggie because he not here. Like who? The greatest story in hip hop may belong to who? LL Cool J, Jay-Z, the first rap billionaire. Like no, the greatest story in hip hop belongs to Shine. Poor guy from Belize becomes a rapper, get locked up on something that he probably didn't do. That is a label mate that his boss did, does 8.5 years, becomes an Orthodox Jew as a black person, lives in Israel for 3 years, go back to Belize, comes a councilman, and now is up for election as a prime minister, the president of Belize. That's an amazing story. So I think people generally like to see redemption. Now, when people fuck up, we'll chastise you. We'll be like, oh man, you fuck up. But we don't want to. I mean, I don't know. Y'all tell me. I don't like, okay, Trump has felony convictions. And I'm like, damn, this dude got felony convictions. But you know what? He won big. Do I want to? I don't know. I think it would be crazy. I don't know. I guess some people probably want to see him fail. But I don't want to see him fail. Shit, I live here. Why would I want to see him fail? I cross my fingers. I don't care if it was Trump, if it was Harris, if it was whoever, some plaid alien. If you are the president, I want to see you succeed. I don't care what your trials and tribulation was. I want to see you succeed because if you are succeeding and doing things in a manner that's good for everybody else, we all win. So I think we just generally like to see a redemption story. Yeah, she actually said the interview that she did. I'm probably gonna do a video on it. I might pre-record it because I don't know if I want to watch through that whole video, or I might go through it and find the points in the video that are worth talking about, then do a live stream. But she said something to the effect of it. She said something to the effect of Martin Luther King had a dream and I am the dream. And I just thought to myself, I was like, she fucking crazy. That's some crazy stuff. The mayor of New Orleans. I'll tell you, I've looked into that story, but I haven't looked into it outside of what I've seen in a few articles or what I've seen on news articles related to the story on social media or on YouTube. So I don't know. I might do a roundup video where we just kind of take a look at some political officials who are under a lot of legal scrutiny because they have some criminal exposure, and do a yay or nay. But I will tell you, I mean, it's possible. In New Orleans, in Louisiana, they have a history of going after bad politicians. I don't know, we all remember Ray Nagin getting beat over the head, as he rightfully should have. So they do have a history of after going after politicians. But I don't know. I have to take a look. I have to take a little bit deeper dive in it to find out the history of it, the allegations. Are they high-level felonies or low-level felonies? Probably high-level felonies if it's a politician. But I don't know. I would have to do a little bit more research and let you know. But that's a good question, and that was the argument that was made. Trustees Gonzalez and Carlisle actually made that point, and it makes no sense. I agree. Just from a common sense standpoint, it would make no sense. That would be the equivalent of the mayor of DC picking a new council member to serve on the city council. To me, I don't know what their rules say, but there would have to be some. I would think, if the whole point of government is to have separation of powers, you have the executive, the mayor, the legislative, the city council, or the trustees, the judicial, the attorney general, and the court, and all of that shit. Why would you allow the executive to appoint somebody and the legislative? Like, that would be very crazy to do. So I don't know. I don't even know if that's legally a thing that can be done. If it is, it's absolutely insane. But the trustees, Gonzalez and Carlisle, did say appointments should go to the people and they shouldn't go with the mayor. So, hey, shout out to you. I think that's a good point. I'll actually have to take a look to see. So I got it now. Y'all see, God damn it, y'all done gave me some homework. But that is a good point. That is a good point. I'm gonna have to do a little research and we're gonna check on that. But that is a fair point. Let me see. Yeah, that's her name. I couldn't want to. Yeah. She was recalled. She was terrible too. I was about to say, oh man, I was about to shout out to you. Thanks for letting me know. She was recalled. Did you see the? It was another mayor who was ousted. Well, I don't know. A lot of Democratic mayors and attorney generals have been getting beat over the head, especially in California. I don't know if y'all seen what's going on over there, but pretty much in California, stealing is legal. Like, I don't know. They went down this whole defund the police road, and I think they just got a little too overzealous with defund the police, and stealing is legal. As long as you still, like, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as I think the rule was as long as it's under $1,000, but that's not a number that's looked at in a totality. So I can go Monday morning and steal something $500. Then Monday afternoon, I go steal something $300. Then Monday night, I go steal some $800, and the police will never come arrest me. So what you're seeing now is excuse me, a lot of Democratic mayors, Democratic AGs are losing their seats because they had these weird ass policies on crime. Like, yo, if you go to like a CVS in like Oakland or San Francisco, everything is locked up. You can't even, they got the deodorant behind the glass, Doritos, chapstick. You can't even uncrush your lips by getting chapstick at the counter. Everything you have to call somebody to unlock. And the stores were just tired of that shit. So it's an interesting thing that's going on with politicians across the board. Okay. No, I knew exactly who you were talking about. I couldn't recall her name though. Yeah, because she is the Oakland mayor. She is the Oakland mayor, but the mayor in San Francisco either got recalled or lost her election, one of the two. But she had some like extreme left policies regarding crime and decriminalizing some things. And people don't want that shit, man. People don't want like crimes that people want decriminalized are crimes that like don't really hurt people. Like nobody care if you smoke marijuana, but if you smoke marijuana in a bus, people don't like that shit. You know what I mean? So it is but it was the mayor of Oakland was correct. She was the mayor of Oakland, but I think the mayor, and I don't know if she just lost her election or she was recalled, but this was recently too. Let me see. Let me see. I think is okay. It says yeah. Left coast goes right. California Bay Area kicks out liberal mayor and DA in stunning votes. And I kind of looked into that story because I was like, oh man, that's an interesting story. And I think the big takeaway is that, like, yo, we certain shit people want uncriminalized. And I know everybody talk about defunding the police until somebody breaking their shit. And they're like, yo, why isn't enough police out here? Why is not enough police out here to police what's going on? So I don't know. I'm always a person where I think we need law enforcement, but we need a method to make sure law enforcement can be held accountable. We need a method to make sure there's no qualified immunity so cops can't violate a person's right and actually have no repercussions from it. So it's complicated, but people aren't feeling the super left policies as it relates to. I don't think people are feeling the super left policies as it relates to the decriminalization of crimes that make neighborhoods worse and that impact people. And if you got all this stealing now, prices of shit is going up. Stores aren't there, so you got to drive farther to go to stores. It's just everything is in the ecosystem, and you can't change one thing without it having a domino effect on something else. Since 2017, god damn, that's crazy. Prison greater than local jails. That's what they say. Federal prisons, state prisons. Yep. You fighting to survive daily. Yeah. I don't want to go to there. Do you get more rehabilitation services in prison versus jail? Well, it depends on where you at. Some states have very favorable rules for inmates, but there's some states that like, and I kind of see both arguments too. That's interesting. But there's some states where their inmates can get a goddamn PhD and the government will pay for it. But there's some states where they like, man, we ain't paying for y'all education. That's not what we here for. Y'all go in there and make those fucking license plates. Let's just keep it a buck. It is what it is. I think the general services they have I know GED services I've seen at local jails. I've seen GED services, substance abuse services, job training services, but it depends on the states. Generally, though, federal government has more funding to give to federal prisons to be able to allow inmates in federal prisons to have more programs. So, if I had to guess, I don't know for certain. That's actually a good, thing to look into. But I would assume that federal prisons have more programs that could benefit inmates just because they typically have more resources across the board. States, that shit changed with the women. And at one instance in North Carolina, people could get degrees in jail. Then another regime came in and was like, fuck no, we're not paying for y'all degrees in jail. Y'all in jail. We ain't paying for people degrees out here. Why should we pay for yours? So, yeah. Oh, no worries, no worries. Hey, shout out to you. Shout out to everybody who gifted one. I appreciate it. Yeah, normally there's a natural tendency to root for the underdog and the redemption because it gives us hope and infractions we have done, we can find grace. Facts. I agree with that. Like, I like during the pandemic when I was in the house, I started watching wrestling, right? I was like, man, this wrestling story is amazing. I'm old as fuck. All the wrestlers I used to watch as a kid, their kids is wrestling now. Their kids is wrestling now. Their kids my age. So I was like, man, this is interesting. And I do agree. We like to root for the underdog. Like, I much rather see the good guy chasing to get the title. So, like, I would prefer a bad guy to have the belt in like wrestling or boxing, and I want to see the good guy trying to get it, but he gets screwed over, trying to get it, and he gets screwed over. Because once the good guy get the title, I'd be like, oh man, it's kind of boring. This old goody two shoes got it. But I do agree that we like the redemption story. I always root for the bad guy. I don't know why. I was the only person who watched Game of Thrones, and I remember calling my boy, was like, yo, I think the White Walker's going to do it, bro. I think the White Walker's going to take over the world. Yeah. Not everyone could be rehabilitated. I agree. She kills me. Yeah, she said that Dr. King had a dream and I am the dream. And some people would say she's the nightmare. She says she is the queen and the residents need to protect their queen. She is. Golly, I've never seen somebody so arrogant. Why are the politicians we hear about lately black and brown? Now, okay. Now, I will tell you, we gonna talk about accredited units in prison school. Interesting. Check out the nails of the officer. Now, I will tell you, I did a video where it was like why black politicians crashing out. Now, to be fair, it's not just black politicians crashing out. I think what happens is you get stuck in your algorithm bubble. Because once I looked, because that's what I thought. I was like, man, damn, what's wrong? I was like, what's wrong with us? Y'all fucking up, man. Yeah, when we get these opportunities, we can't fuck up these opportunities. And so I kind of went down this rabbit hole. And no, there's a lot of politicians who are black, brown, white, purple, fuchsia, off Drake, whatever color you want to call them, who are doing bad stuff. I actually did one on. She was the mayor of. The name was hilarious. I can't even think of it. But she was a mayor of a town, or I can't think. It's not a town or a city, whatever it was called, but it was somewhere in Louisiana, and it was a white woman, and she was charged with like rape of like a high school student or something like that. So there are others that are terrible, but I think what happens is like you start watching something related to Tiffany Henyard, then the algorithm is like, hey, you got a proclivity for watching bad black mayors do bad stuff. Here's another black. Hey, let's take a look at Brandon Johnson in Chicago. they just keep sliding you in front of you because they in the algorithm bubble. But there are a lot of politicians out there, all shapes, sizes, colors, just doing a lot of bad things, you know. But I thought that as well. That's why I did a video. I was like, yo, why are black politicians crashing out so much? But then once I did some research, I was like, nah, everybody, it's just politicians crashing out in general. Politicians crashing out in general because they greedy, because they want more power. But most times it's because of greed, or they think they are above the law. It was just a video I saw another day of a politician. I can't remember where it was. The video popped up on my algorithm. Like, cops caught this dude just passed out in his car with like a crack pipe in his lap. I was like, God damn. I was like, man, this shit is getting crazy, man. This is getting crazy, man. Like that's crazy. That's crazy to have politicians doing crack and winning elections. Golly, the other candidate who lost must have been terrible. But yo, that's it for this video. We covered the 3 stories related to just politics in general, what was going on in the village and the township. It was, let me see. That's who it was. Yep, Misty Roberts. And the name of where was she the mayor of? The town had like a, I want to say the town had like a name that was, if you pronounce it incorrectly, it was like it kind of sounds sexual. But I actually did a video on her. I think I titled it something like this mayor might be worse than Tiffany Henyard. Like that was kind of creepy. But she resigned, which was a smart move. But yo, it's people out there doing bad stuff all the time. Yep. Man, these Bitcoin people. Yay. Shout out to Bitcoin people. Don't nobody care. That's what it is. I was like, I think it's pronounced DeRitter. And I was like, yo, I hope that's not DeRider, considering that this lady is charged with taking advantage of high school boys. So it was kind of crazy. But yo, that's it for this video. I'm about to get off here. Next week, I think I'm going to do the first members only live stream. I'm not sure the format. I may put a poll question up just for the members to find out the format. I think what I'll do is maybe have a couple of stories, and then I'll just open it up for y'all to just do a Q&A and ask whatever it is y'all want to ask, or ask about something, a topic, and hell, we'll look it up and just chop it up and talk on that as well. So, yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Damn, now I'm gonna have to challenge this video. Yeah, I know. I said the fruit once, and they was like, "No, you can't say that." And I was like, They got me once when I did a video related to Bill Cosby. Yep. Shout out to you. I get a little too free on here sometimes. I'm gonna get it squared away. Hey, a round of applause to everybody in the chat, everybody who tuned in, everybody who gonna watch on the replay side. Get out of here. Y'all have a good one. Have a safe night. Be blessed. Peace.